Okay, so I'm recording. Hi, Janelva, long time no see.
Ay, no. Hi, mi niña linda. I hope you don't mind that I still call you that.
Oh, that's okay. You can call me that literally forever. I don't mind. Yeah, my family has now started calling me Carolina as a joke. Yeah.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's totally okay that you call me that.
Okay.
Alrighty. So I do have a question for you.
Okay.
In 2024, you played a mommy three times, I believe.
Yeah.
In I did my research before asking this question in like Mother Like Daughter, De Arriba para Abajo, and of course Niña Linda. And I was wondering what is something that you've learned from each of these characters?
Okay, so I gotta think about that.
Yeah.
So maybe I start with Niña Linda. So that one, I think was the one that I learned the most because it was a similar thing of what I think my mother went through with me. That was the first film that I did with a young adult daughter, right? And what I learned from that is that mommies are human too, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't really think about our mom's feelings, I mean, at least I know I didn't even before this film. Like now I'm more careful now. Like, okay, I said something this, I have to be careful how I say it, or if I said it this way, it hurt her. Let me see how I can try to explain to her what I meant. So from Niña Linda, I learned the most, and that was the main thing is that moms have feelings too, so we have to be careful and things that they may go through that we don't know what it is that they're going through, we can just assume. From like mother like daughter, not to share too much of the story, but it's like moms do go through things as well, but
Yeah.
that was more of like, okay, this is what the mom went through when she was in college, when it was related to a relationship. So it's like our mothers went through heartbreak too, but the what I learned from there is that all moms react differently, right? We can all have Dominican moms or whatever POC moms, right? Or just moms in general, and not they're not all going to be the same. They're all going to react differently. So from that mom, I learned, right, that there's mothers that are very close to their daughters and they help them through things even though we may not have had that relationship with our moms. And then from De Arriba para Abajo, that was my first young adults male child that I was playing the mom for. And from that one, I learned that if you have principles, whatever they are, that you're, for whatever reason, maybe you warn somebody, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. And you're a type of person that you have principles and your word is everything for you, then that's what you do, right? So if it's your son, your, partner, your mom, if I said this is what's going to happen, if you do this to me, this is what's going to happen. And things, there's repercussions and consequences. But if you said this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm going to do. So I think that's yeah. I think I answered the question there.
Yeah, no, you did answer the question.
Okay.
And like to talk a little bit about like mother like daughter, because that was a really interesting experience for me because I played a younger version of your character. So
Right.
I also kind of played a mommy character in a way. And
Right.
I think it's really interesting that you say that like our moms experience heartbreak too. And that's like something that I never realized. And that's something that I learned playing that character. Because it was like I literally played the heartbreak part and like the good part of that relationship. So it's like,
I didn't
oh
have to do that.
wow.
I did not have to do that. So,
But
so
it's
how
like
was that for you?
it was really interesting because I've never done like a breakup scene before. And I've also never really played a romantic interest before Niña Linda. So like these two experiences were like firsts for me. And they were right one after the other. So it was really interesting. But I've never like been angry, like super angry enough to like hit someone or push someone before, and I did that in that scene, and I kind of felt bad for my scene partner because I I kind of went crazy on him a little bit, but it was okay. He was okay. But yeah, it was like really fun in a different way. I feel like with Carolina and Carter, they were very sweet and loving and kind, and then Reina and her boyfriend was kind of like on the flip side of that, which was really interesting. So it was just very different experience, but I think I took away ultimately like people have feelings and they express them in different ways, and that's okay too. So yeah.
And how was the, because I think in the beginning of Like Mother Like Daughter for you, it was a very nice relationship, right? I think you guys did record something like that, right?
Yeah, we did. We it
So
was
how
like it was yeah.
so how was that compared to the Niña Linda? Because obviously they weren't the same age. So how was that for you?
It was
Like,
also like set in the early 2000s. So like obviously the clothing was very different and like the mentality surrounding like relationships at the time was different too. Like I was born in 2002, so I was like a baby. And then like playing a character that was like older in that time period
that's what I
was
was just gonna ask you, because it was you're playing older there, which
yeah,
we
it
don't
was
normally do.
right. Yeah, and it was interesting because it's like I found myself like listening to a lot of like older music, like older 2000s music, like Aventura and stuff like that. And like of course like I grew up listening to it, but in a very different way. Like yes, I grew up listening to these songs, but I can't say, oh, like it was part of my adolescencia or anything like that, you know? So it was like I had to listen to it from like a very different lens and perspective, which was interesting. So it was like I had to put myself in like the shoes of like my aunts who were like young adults like when I was born. So it was really interesting. So I had to empathize with them in a different way too.
Character. I did see your scenes though.
Oh,
Before
really?
mine, yeah, they played them for me, so I can know like, because I think they added scenes. When they cast you, they added scenes, so there were things that I didn't know about when I went into filming. So they wanted to make sure that I saw what you did and have that idea. And that helped because that was part of the memory, right? Okay, so I
Right. Yeah.
I didn't do it, I didn't improvise it, for example, but I did see what you went through your character, like when you were playing it. So that serves as a story for me, whatever, 20 years ago, right? Or for my character, for Reina.
Yeah. That is so cool. Like the fact that we both worked on like this project that's completely different, and then we wrapped that, and we went on to play another that are also completely different. Like we didn't even have a really relationship in like mother like daughter. Like I was playing you, which was
Right.
totally different.
And what was funny is that the director, Shanna Lee, was like, "Oh my gosh, she sounds just like you." She was so excited. I was like, "She sounds just like you, like your mannerisms." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." You
Yeah,
know?
that was really like during the first reading when I was, and it was funny because I was like sick and my voice was like shot, and she was like, "You sound so Dominican. You sound just like Daneva." And I was like, I guess because we had like spent a lot of time together,
Right,
but
right. That's probably why, yeah.
yeah.
Carolina, no te lo vuelvo a preguntar.
Mommy, I swear we didn't do anything.
¿Quién es Wii? Tú tienes novio.
Yeah, that's those scenes, those I don't know why, like a lot of the scenes when it's very tough, somehow they end up being the first scenes because for like De Arriba para Abajo, the emotional scene was that. Luckily for Niña Linda, kind of it wasn't the party scene the first one, so that one was tough, but it wasn't the toughest one. It was
Right.
most emotional was the last one that we shot. So it's just interesting, like the dynamics, which a lot of people that are not actors don't understand, right? They don't know you're not shooting in sequence, right?
Right.
They don't know what your first scene. They don't know when you're shooting. Like you can be shooting this scene, but if it's in the same room, we're gonna shoot the first and the last scene, but people have no idea. I actually started writing something last night about an idea that I had, but it deals with a doctor and a pharmacy. And I'm like, I know somebody that owns a pharmacy, so that would be okay.
Right.
Uh, a doctor's office, how's that gonna work?
Right.
So we
Yeah.
would have to make it up like, okay, let me use this room and make it look like an office.
Right.
You don't
There's a
have,
lot of movie magic in that, especially in the writing. And that's not something that I realized like as an actor before I did Niña Linda, because like I had written things before, but like plays and like obviously in theater you have a lot more freedom to play around with space. Like you can just move set pieces and like if you're in a park, you could be in a park one scene, you could be somewhere else in another scene, and it's fine. Because like you have stagehands and all those wonderful people helping you out. But film is completely different. It all has to be practical. And that's not something that I realized until I did Niña Linda. And I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of like it really takes a village to like make a movie. And I mean, this was like a 17-minute movie, and I mean, you saw how many people we needed and how many people for post-production as well. So it was like it's really crazy to think about.
It is. So hopefully people appreciate the stuff that actors and the crew, everybody does because it's a lot of work. It's not, you see, oh, it's only 17 minutes. Yeah. But it's to what, how many months, how many people, how much money, how many decisions, like I remember the Q&A when Nat was saying things, and they were like all these hours, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah. It was
Um,
like 6 full days, I think, like they took to edit. Like they added up all the hours, and I was like, that's crazy to be sitting in front of a computer 6 whole days. I can't imagine.
and then if something doesn't work, then to have to reach out to you, the producer, hey, this is not gonna work. What do you want to do? But
Yeah,
it's not gonna work. So it's like there's a lot of things that people don't know about. That
yeah.
would be a good script to write, like the behind the scenes.
Yeah, like a mockumentary kind of thing.
Right.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I actually have another question for you.
Okay.
So you've been doing this a while now. And like you've seen a lot of like changes in the industry from when you started, like the SAG strikes, the pandemic, the writer strike, all that. And I think like with all these changes, I think like well, I have two parts to this question. One, what is one of the biggest changes you've seen in the industry, like since you started? And what is one piece of advice you'd give to like aspiring actresses with all these changes in mind?
Okay, so I do have to clarify something. I did stop acting for a while. So I started 2010, and then I did work 2011, I did work 2012, and then from 2013 to 2014, I probably did only like one project, and I was still auditioning for one of my agents, but I wasn't really doing much acting. And it wasn't really until 2020 that I started acting again, but not really fully. So I literally started acting again back in 2022. So I was out for literally like 10 years. But there are differences. And the main one for me, which I've noticed even like when watching film, and other people may not agree with me, but in 2010, 2011, 2012, I couldn't get an agent before 2012 because of the way I looked physically.
Mm,
And I wasn't overweight. I think I'm 5'4" and I was 135 pounds. I would not book things. And I would submit to agencies and they would be like, "Oh, we already have people with your type." The way,
mm,
the way, because there's a lot of Hispanic women acting, right? And there's other women in other nationalities that look Hispanic that also, book these roles and they go for these roles. So in 2011, I joined the program and I lost. So I went from 135 pounds and it was like, because I have a small build, which you can't tell now, but I have a small build. I didn't I looked even smaller than 135. But then when I was part of this program with Beachbody, it was a 3-month program. It was Brazil Butt Lift, which is a big Beachbody workout program that you do through DVD. I was part of a test group and I went down to 112 pounds, but it was all muscle.
mm,
So from then, that's when I started getting more opportunities. So I was literally, after I finished that, I was booking theater, I was booking commercials, I was going to all these auditions, I was um going on like so many auditions. That's when I did my first Law and Order, and they were looking for somebody with that physique. So back then, even though people didn't tell you, back then it was very big on people that looked like models or people that were fit and pretty. You know, I couldn't use curly hair. I didn't use curly hair back then. You didn't see people really with curly hair back in, I mean, you were probably 10 years old back
Yeah.
old, but that you did not see that. It was like women, you know, had to wear weaves, women had to straighten their hair. And the ones that did wear their hair naturally, they weren't really going on auditions. And I know this for a fact. Women that were even heavier than 135, they were not going on auditions, and they would ask me, well, what did you do? And I would tell them, listen, you know, I would have that conversation. What worked for me is that I had to, and they were like, well, you weren't big. I was like, I know, but I had to get fit because they already had people that looked, you know, that were curvy or whatever the case may be, but they didn't have fit people. And that's what the industry wanted back then. Now you know, I have my hair straight now, but my headshots is curly. So that was a decision that I had to go through. So I got headshots back in 2020, and my hair, I had a pixie cut. I had a very, very short hair. But I wasn't really fully doing anything because we had the pandemic. So I don't think I ever auditioned with anything when I had that look, but we had the pandemic. So I don't think people were
Yeah.
anyway. It wasn't just me. And I was going through personal things that I couldn't submit to a lot of things anyway. So then when in 2021, I think I got new headshots. And that's when I made a decision. Okay, I'm gonna have it curly because I don't go to the hair salon since 2020. It's too much to do this, you know? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it curly. So that was, and I was heavy there too. Because I gained a lot of weight. So I gained from 2012. In 2012, after I stopped acting, I gained like 60 pounds in less than 2 months for health conditions or whatever, but that's not what this is about. But anyway, that's the difference is now I can have my headshots with curly hair. And now they are looking for women with curly hair. All these auditions that I've actually, my first commercial that I booked when I started acting again, I believe I was cast because of my hair. Because the director actually came up to me. I have to meet her. I have to meet her. Can I touch your hair? I'm like, he's like, I just love your hair.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
man too. It's a man. And he's like, and I'm like, did you cast me because of my hair? And he just started laughing, like, oh, you know, and he just changed the conversation.
Oh,
So
wow.
and I go to these things and people are always talking about my curly hair, you know, for a lot of things. And I'm like, am I? And that's what it is. Like this business is about your image, whether we want to say it or not, whatever that image is, whatever it is, that's what you're being called for. So for me, the main thing is, and I'm heavier, a lot heavier than I was then. And that's not keeping me from auditioning because now they're looking for what real people look like.
Hmm.
Right? Not everybody is skinny. Not everybody is fit. Now people want to see, like now people say, oh, I see myself on TV now, right? People didn't see themselves on TV before. And if they did, it was for a reason. Oh, she's the chubby girl in high school, but it's only the one chubby girl. And
Hmm.
she's in the film because they're making fun of her, they're bullying her. Like, for example, Ugly Betty.
Yeah.
But then they made her pretty, right? But that
Hmm.
was back then. Now you don't see, at least I haven't noticed anything. Now the stories are different. The stories are everybody, it doesn't matter what they look like. You've got three chubby girls in one scene with one thin one. And it's not you know, it's not like, oh, you know, that it's not being made fun of, you know. So that's the main difference that I see is about basically the hair and the body not really matter. Like you're not gonna be looked, they're not gonna look away from you just because you have that. Now you're actually there, you might even get called for that if you are different, right? If you are not thin or fit, now they're gonna call you for other reasons. The advice that I would have, but is the question related to that or just like just any advice that I have?
I think anyway, any advice you want to give us, because it's hard out here.
It is hard for all of us. So I think the main thing, and I think it's something that anybody can do in any profession is you just have to make sure that this is what you want to do. You know, if that this is genuinely that in your heart, this is what you want to do regardless of what happens, right? Because this is not If you want to be famous, not everybody's gonna be famous. You know, like I'm actually literally just happy when I'm doing my little content for Instagram. Like I just got an audition that I have to work on. I'm so excited to work on that audition, whether I book it or not. Yeah, of course we want to book it. But that's not what this is because you're not gonna book a lot of things. Like I saved like my auditions in a folder and I probably had over 80 auditions last year. Your film I booked because you found me. I didn't submit to it. You found me. I auditioned. You hired me. Um, Larry's I did submit for, but like mother, like daughter is because Sharon Lee met me in Larry's film. So those are the 3 films that I booked, right? One of them, right, was that I actually auditioned to because I was called. But I auditioned for over 30 or 40 films. TV, I didn't do TV last year. I did audition for TV. I did not book any TV. The TV that did air was from 2023, so it wasn't 2024, even though it looks like that it wasn't. And then I did 2 more jobs. One was a voiceover for a commercial, and my voiceover was not used. So that's part of why I'm giving these examples because it's related to the advice. And then the other one was an industrial that I will never see. I don't know how I did in it because I'm not going to see it. It was internal training for companies. So unless I work for a company eventually or somebody tells me, hey, I saw you, I will never see it. So the advice is this is something that you want to do because your heart is telling you I have to do this. And you have to, like you did, you have to do your own work if you're not booking because you have to do something. You have to get into classes. You have to meet with people to like feed that urge that you have to be an artist. And don't rely on, oh, I'm gonna stop acting because I'm not booking any work. Guess what? Look at Demi Moore just got her first Globe, right? There's all these great actors that you're like, how come they don't have any awards? Because that's how it is, right? Zoe Saldana,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you really want to do this, make sure that this is what you really want to do, regardless of what happens, and that you're going to make work for yourself or that you're going to always be doing something related to it, whatever that is. If this is not what you want to do, then figure out what it is that you want to do that's going to make you happy. And do it because it's making you happy, not because I want to be rich, I want to be famous, or I want people to know me. So figure out what it is that you want to do. If it is to be an actor, realize that not everybody is going to get a Globe, right? Or an Oscar or recognition. So I think that's the main advice that I would give.
Well, that's awesome. And even like for me, like I'm about to graduate college and I'm like, that's kind of like a scary time. And it's like I'm gonna go out in the real world and it's gonna be hard. And so hearing that was like definitely like helpful because I feel like a lot of people, and especially in like BFA programs, are like, you have to aspire to be on Broadway or like these big film sets. And like, well, that's not always gonna happen for everyone. And I don't think it should be the goal for everyone because everyone has different skill sets and different, you know, looks, types, circumstances in life that I might never be on Broadway, but that doesn't mean I'm any less successful as an actor.
And the thing that we have to realize too is that it's not just you going for the part. Right. And this is something that I had to learn over the years. Like I'm the type of person that if I know of a role that somebody that looks like me, I will tell them whether we're competing for the same thing. Because at the end of the day, when you wrote Niña Linda, you had an idea of what mommy was going to look like. Right? When you spoke to Ashley about it, you guys had ideas of things that you were looking for, right? If you reached out to me, for example, and I looked of how you wrote it and based on the videos that you saw, but then if I didn't deliver what thought you were looking for, you would go look for somebody else because it's like you have to fit that image. So at the same time, we have to understand when somebody's writing something or when somebody's producing something, they're looking for something specific. You're
Mhm.
not going to be that. You
Right.
can't possibly be that for everything. When they're looking for somebody in a commercial, sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. But when
Mhm.
they see it, they're like, oh, that's what we want. That's what we want to see. That's what we want behind our product. So we have to understand that we can love ourselves as much as we can, but unfortunately, we're not what everybody's looking for.
Mhm.
We're not. It goes to the same thing when you're in a relationship. You may like somebody, they don't like you back. You got to deal with it. So
Yeah.